if it's not evident based on the fact that the slide you were just looking at has our Seriously Sharp with the red and black plaid label, and the hat that Craig is wearing is red and black plaid, I, as a Cabot farmer, the only thing anyone gifts me at this point is red and black plaid items. So napkins and slippers and flannel sheets. Like my bed has red and black plaid flannel sheets on it. And so somehow this cheese has become like the ultimate Cabot cheddar, like the symbolic cheddar for all of our cheese and all of our products. And so I believe, if I'm correct, originally the Seriously Sharp was actually our Hunter's cheddar, and it got that red and black plaid on it because hunters in Vermont were wearing red and black plaid. So it was very specifically targeting that demographic. And because at the time, who else was going to want to eat something so tangy? Like the consumers of New England and the East Coast just weren't quite maybe there to accept something that was that wild. And in fact, as time has passed, I think consumers have actually they've yearned for it. They've gotten engaged with it. They've accepted it, and in fact now they look for it. So there was in fact a name change from Hunter's Cheddar to Seriously Sharp because there were enough people that really actually like it has become a standard in grocery stores all across the country. But that red and black plaid, that has stayed. And so it is used in most of our marketing materials. I mean, even the extra sharp, we've still maintained the plaid, but we've just changed the color. And so for me, like this cheese just represents what I am so proud of as a Cabot farmer. Like this cheese is wild. And I think as a farmer member of this cooperative, to have something that is a little bit out of the ordinary that can be our show horse. Like Craig talked about the workhorse, but we've also got a show horse. And for me, like this cheese and the fact that we have it as a cracker cut, as a shred, as an 8 ounce, as a 2 pound, as a 3 pound, you can literally buy a 3 pound block of Seriously Sharp cheddar. And so, I mean, for my family growing up, that was our holiday gift. That is what we gave people in our, like, that weren't involved on the farm. They would get a 2 or 3 pound block of Seriously Sharp cheese from us. So this cheese has history. It has done an evolution as it's kind of gained interest and appeal by a wider audience. But it's, if you haven't had Cabot, this is, I would say, try this one.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Amanda's nailed it on kind of just being the show horse, right? And I think it's, especially nowadays in the grocery store, it's kind of hard finding products that aren't always like where consistency is completely king, right? So like kind of what I spoke about before, extra sharp being kind of every time you open that, we want to have that same flavor profile going on. But again, what Amanda talked to originally about was kind of the idea of like calling it Hunters, you know, before we moved to Seriously Sharp. You know, like with natural aging on the cheese process, you're gonna have more interesting flavors that kind of develop over time that you didn't expect to, right? And that's kind of where Hunters originally came from. Was, you know, we get to a point where we had, you know, a lot of this old product that didn't really match people's expectations of extra sharp, but it was really an excellent cheese, right? So the idea was to kind of put it out on the market and call it Hunters, because if you're from New England and you've spent any time at deer camps, I mean, the idea is that, you know, look, a hunter is somebody that's kind of, they've been out all day long, kind of trekking through the woods. You know, you're getting together with a few of the guys and gals at your deer camp that night, and, you know, you're pretty much ravenous, and you like big, bold flavors, and kind of a big, bold, old cheese like a Hunter's was kind of like a, you know, just a kind of a big event, right? And so that's kind of like kind of that playing off of that ravenous of Hunters at the end of the day, of wanting big, bold flavors. So, and again, over time, we kept the plaid that Hunters are known for and then transitioned over. So I think, again, what's fun about this, it is kind of like a little bit more of an adventure kind of getting this cheese. So again, the flavor profiles in there will be good. You know, we can always get rid of cheese that develops poorly. But and sometimes too, when we have these older categories, like a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, our forecasters aren't always perfect. So sometimes we might have a little too much old cheese. We need to find a home for it. Again, we don't want to necessarily put that into extra sharp. We want to keep that consistency. So sometimes kind of older, more unique cheese will get kicked into seriously sharp. So yeah, so I think a little bit wider profile. So you're going to get, more acid flavor on this sometimes, a lot more opportunity to get sweetness, maybe fruitiness, and nuttiness. So this one, I'm really curious to see what you came up with for different pairing options. So,
well, it's interesting because I have done a lot of cheddars across the board, and this does take it up to a nice tangy level where we get that. I think what I said before with the extra sharp was that we have a kind of like a Myers lemon. Well, this kind of pushes into a lemon lime tang. There's a nice tanginess to it. There's a nice little saltiness to that. But again, I can still taste the butter back there. I mean, it's still in there without interfering or being lost in it. So I really want to capitalize on that and bring out a little bit more butter. So that's why I chose the Boston Lager of Sam Adams. It's a Vienna lager, again, very similar to the first one, where maltiness is going to really help kind of bound out and bring out a little bit more of that, the buttery flavors. And it balances out to me just a little bit more. And not that I don't mind the sharpness. I mean, that's the point of it. But you can really stretch this out. It's got enough latitude and bandwidth here to really do a lot more. So cracker wise, I'm using the Firehook, and this is their sea salt, because you don't really need any flavor to it that much. And then I went to my old friend here, the Fat Toad Farm, and I really love bourbon with cheddars. I mean, they really go well together. Well, bourbon goes well with everything, but so they do a really nice bourbon here in their caramel, and so that's the direction that I went there. So we get a little bit of sweetness, we get a little bit of that musky bourbon flavor, and then we get the nice structure of the crackers, and then the maltiness. So that's the direction I went with this.
Great. Yeah, that's some fun ideas.
So so I served in the Peace Corps, and while I was in Peace Corps, there was a few foods that I fantasized about, that I had dreams about, because I was in a mud hut with no running water or electricity. And so the first thing that I had when I came home, I'm not kidding, was a toasted jalapeno cheddar sourdough ciabatta. So that come from a bakery like half an hour north of us. But so you've got the jalapeno that's in that ciabatta, toasted with just a little bit of butter, and then raspberry jam, and then slices of seriously sharp cheese. And I dreamt about that while I was serving in Zambia, and it was as good as I imagined it to be. So I really like for this one, and maybe from a professional opinion, that's too much zazz going on with an already tangy cheese. But I really, really love the jalapeno with the raspberry, with the seriously sharp cheese, on the texture of a really nice local sourdough bread that just has all those pockets in it. That for me is just that's perfection.
I like the idea of adding the sweet heat to it. That sounds actually really good.
Yeah, the Fat Toad does such a great job that little bit of caramel sweetness in there, and then that bourbon flavor really balances out. It brings out, again, tones down a little bit of the tanginess, which when you put all of these together, you do get all those flavors. Nothing is lost in there, and that's really nice. But you pick up little picks where all of a sudden it's ooh, there's a little bourbon. Ooh, there's a little cheddar. Ooh, there's a little the sea salt. So it's nice that way.
Nice. And
And
I've
the
done one
beer's
working with like
fabulous.
Fat Toad, where, well, like kind of working with the caramel from Fat Toad, where kind of try to come off with like a knockoff of like a s'more, but using cheddar, right? So just using, kind of using a chocolate of your choice. Kind of maybe I haven't actually used Effie's, but I could see that working really well with the texture. And then just putting a little bit of the caramel on top of a little bit of old cheddar, just because I
Mhm.
think that adding that extra caramel kind of gives it almost like a marshmallow flavor to it. So just
Yeah.
if you're looking for something creative, but I think when it comes to coming up with, one of my friends turned me onto this idea, was basically using, just cooking it like a kielbasa, right? Cutting it up into little quarters and then just kind of kicking it in a dry rub, and then just doing little pepperoncinis, and then just having basically on a toothpick combine like piece of old cheddar, Cabot cheddar, dry rub kielbasa and a pepperoncini. Usually makes for a pretty good little appetizer. So
I had a guy send me some habanero sauces,
Mhm.
and I like a little bit of heat, but I'm not that big in the habaneros. But one drop on the cheddar is absolutely fabulous, and that's what you were saying about that little bit of heat on there, and that butter just kind of cools it down, and you get the habanero flavor without the heat, and I think that's really cool.
That's great.
Kind of like a cheddar phenomena. All right, anything else on this fabulous cheddar?
Yeah, I think this one. I mean, I think one of the things that you can really do with this cheese, again, if you've got a few people over, just have people taste it and start talking about it. Again, it's the consistency. It's a little bit wider profile with what we're allowing here, so I think it's a fun conversational cheese if you get a fun crew that likes to talk
All
about
right. So I actually once had somebody, so they were doing it was a Swiss exchange student that we had for many years, and then she ended up staying and marrying a local guy, and so she Swiss, and so cheese and bread and potatoes and pickles are just like what they do. And so she had asked us to bring cheese for a cheese board, and she specifically said, could you try to bring something other than cheddar?
that.
So I mean, that's just like, that's our lifeblood. But anyways, so we managed. It wasn't easy, but we managed.
Well,
Okay.
I have access to a lot of cheeses, and I get asked in my classes, what's your favorite cheese? And I have to say that, as much as I may like something that may be a little bit more exotic, my refrigerator is the substance is cheddar. We use more cheddar than we use anything else. It's so universal. And, you can spice up a dish with it, but tang it up, or you can just make it more buttery just by the different types of cheddar that you have. And it's just really amazing, the differences that we get from just cheddar.
Yep. Really versatile.
Yep.